Élan, Son of Song, as part of the Lutepar Saga by Alex Wolff. Narrated by Alex Wolff. Dedication. For Nightwish, the band who gave the Son of Song his voice, for Anne Rice, who gave vampires their bite. Prologue. A crash of thunder startled the young Failing awake. Confused and disorientated, he cried softly. Wrapped warm in the thick winter covers, embraced by the walls of a strong cottage home, he remained frozen in the large hand-carved bed. He trembled as the thunder faded to a grumble. His small body was swallowed by the deep darkness of the night. Even before he could utter the weak words for his fairy mother, the very being was by his side in an instant. A candle lit up her face with her warm eyes and pale complexion. She was smiling softly, reaching for him. A flash of lightning ripped a scream from him, and tears fell. "Hush, my Failing," she whispered, her warmth soothing the small, shuddering body. Slowly she pulled him to her, transferring the small body from the hand-woven covers to her warm body. Her soft nightgown held a familiar scent that soothed the Failing. Thunder soon followed the lightning, and the mother held her son strongly to her, constricting his trembling. They sat there in tense silence, waiting for the storm to erupt again. The Failing felt his mother sigh, as another roar of thunder drew a shudder from him. "You must not cry, my youngest," she said softly. "I'm scared, Mother," he cried, unable to move from his mother's chest, even though it was almost suffocating him in the tight embrace. "It is natural to fear the gods," she whispered softly against his small pointed ear. "But you must not be afraid, dear one, for they are here with us and they will protect us," she continued. This caused the Failing to stir, and he drew back from his mother to meet her warm brown eyes. "Why would they do that?" he asked, confused. The gods, he knew, were selfish dark beings who only knew how to manipulate and conquer souls. His mother smiled secretly, as if he knew something he didn't, drawing him out further from her hold. "Because, dear one, you are blessed by the gods themselves, the gods of rain, wind, and thunder," she said in a secretive voice. The Failing frowned. His mother seemed to catch herself and held back on the rest of her words. "Come, let us sit by the fire and warm ourselves," she said, standing already facing the fireplace that held a small fire on the opposite side of his room. After a slight hesitation, the Failing followed her. A flash of lightning quickened his pulse, and he leapt to sit next to his mother on the long cushion near the fireplace. She wrapped a woolen blanket around them and pulled him to her so he was almost in her lap. She felt a little sadness, knowing he was already getting too big for it. They sat in silence, watching the flames dance and flicker softly. His mother held him firmer as more rumbles of thunder arrived. "Have I ever told you the story of the Tycat Levy?" she asked, as the growls of thunder died down. He looked up at his mother with wonder, excitement not far from his mind at the idea of a story when it was long past his bedtime. "Then I must continue, for it seems the gods wish it be so on this night," she said, pulling him closer. He wasn't completely comfortable with the angle at which his mother held him, but he refused to prolong the story any longer. His mother sat, watching the fire, gathering her thoughts. The Failing's excitement grew as he felt a single drop of magic curl around them. The thunder seemed to subside and the lightning softened. His mother sighed deeply, staring into the flames. The Failing, too, focused on the flames. It was there that the story began. The thunder was replaced by drums, the rain by piano keys, trickling around him. The fire danced in front of him, to his mother's words, with a music only he could hear, a tune only he knew. It was here he learned of what she meant by the god's blessing. The magic surrounded them as the story was told. Before the Failing knew it, he was no longer a young fairy, but an observer on a mighty quest. He watched as a hero faced danger and saved the innocent. His heart thudded in his chest as the drums rumbled around him, the piano showering him in melodies. The Failing would record little of this night, but it was enough to soothe his fears and banish the impact of the thunder. He laughed in wonder as he stared in awe at the flames performing for him and his mother. Her hold was no longer physical, only by her voice did he know that she was there with him. "Fear not, mighty hero, for you are blessed by us and all that be," his mother's voice rang. The failing, mouth agape, continued to watch the dancing flames, entranced. Soon the fire faded, as if tiring from the show. And so, the hero faced his greatest challenge yet, a creature of darkness and old, a beast that ruled the night and stole all things that we hold dear. His mother's voice hardened and he shivered. "Vampire," he whispered. His mother paused and looked at him, the dying flames reflected in her gaze. "Yes, little one, a vampire," she said, her voice deep with sadness. She stared at him until he fidgeted from the silence, the flames low to the coals. She continued the story, her voice sounding hollower than before, until the flames eventually died and they were small buds of light against the black coals. Her son's soft dark head lay against her, the spell having lulled him into a soft sleep once more. She sat there until her aching bones could no longer hold them both. Gently, she lifted him into bed once more, aghast at how big he had grown. A hidden dark thought thudded in her breast. A creak at the door made her gasp and cower against her sleeping child. Moments passed and she laughed at her own foolishness. She kissed his soft head, enjoying the fresh scent of the forest on him. "Mine," she thought in motherly pride as she left the room, letting the soft glow hold the spell a little longer than needed. The thunder was now a distant grumble like a beast above them. The lightning had moved on. Carefully, she closed the hand-carved door and turned to walk the dark hallway. Goosebumps rose on her skin, missing the fire's warmth. The candle she had used had gone out and was not necessary as she could see in the dark. Yet her senses told her she was not alone in her dark, quiet hallway. As she moved from the door, her nerves tingled and sensed a presence, which was not a pleasant one. A creak to her left startled her heart, and she grit her teeth in fear. She moved slowly, knowing not to give in to the darkness that mocked her. As soon as she moved again, a nasty giggle caused her to freeze. Sickening recognition sank her heart. "Stop tormenting me, I know you are here," she said, fighting her chattering teeth. A louder giggle followed, causing her to tremble with despair. Ah, such dramatic accusation from a child. "Ah yes, but clever though, one of my cleverest," came the voice, crawling up her spine. She forced herself to move slowly into what she thought would be a more normal stance, less frightened. "Why are you here?" she asked, unable to ease the tremble in her voice. Another snigger came. "Well, for the story, of course. You know I can't resist them. And that fire trick, my, yes. You are my cleverest," came the arrogant voice. The mother fairy held her tongue, knowing better than to give in to his bait. "And the failing," he drawled. She shivered more, unable to pinpoint his location. "Leave him be, he isn't yours yet," she bit out, unable to resist the bait he threw at her. A bark of laughter shook her. It was never good when he laughed. "That may be, but the boy must know soon. He is almost of age," he hissed, making a lump swell in the mother's throat. "I need more time," she said softly, clutching her elbows, sorrow swirling around her. "A deal is a deal. You knew this time would come. I have been patient. Nurture him, train him, tell him stories. I do not care. Never forget what you promised me." The voice turned into a growl. "Yes, father," she replied, as silent tears fell. By the time she had returned to bed, the sky was brightening with the promise of a clear morning. The air was already ripe from the retreat of the storm. As she lay down, she struggled to get comfortable, the bed too soft, the covers too thick and constricting. Her husband sighed in sleep and replaced his arm around her, his scent soothing her. As her being stilled into comfort, a small itch remained in her mind, a darkness forming. "Mine," said a voice that was not heard but came from her mind. The voice wasn't her own.